We're going.
We're going? Okay.
We're going.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Two Dudes Talking Motorcycles podcast. My name is Mitch.
And my name is Gleb.
And today we are talking about motorcycles.
Wow, no way. I am shocked.
I know, right?
But before we get into the topic, be sure to follow us on social media. You can follow the podcast at tdtmotorcycles on Instagram. And you can follow me at gleblapham on Instagram and TikTok.
And I'm Meech to the Beach on Instagram. That's pretty much all I have now. But yeah, so
cool. So be sure to follow us and be sure to email us your topics, feedback, suggestions, etc. at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com.
That's it. That's the one.
Is that right?
tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I forgot for a second. Okay. And today we are talking about CF Moto because we got a chance to ride a couple of their bikes. We rode two bikes. Each of us rode different ones because they were kind of doing a demo tour and the local dealers here are starting to get them. So we thought it'd be a good idea to check them out because we've talked about them on the podcast here before. And we always thought that, you know, with their lower level price point, they're kind of a good a good first bike or like a potential first bike to get because of their low cost of entry.
Yeah.
But we never rode one until a couple of weeks ago. So we figured, you know, since we've talked about them on here before, it would be a good idea for us to go and ride them, which we finally did. So now we have some better idea of CF Moto and what they're all about. For those of you that aren't familiar, CF Moto is a Chinese motorcycle brand, and they are partnered with KTM. I think that's their...
Yeah, I actually didn't know that until you found that out. So
Oh,
that was,
okay.
Yeah, that was actually really cool to hear.
So they're partnered with KTM. They manufacture some of KTM's bikes in their factory in China, and then through KTM's like network, I guess they're kind of making their way here into the United States. But it's a Chinese brand, and their motorcycles, I mean, they cover the full, I mean, pretty much the standard range.
Yeah, I think the only thing they don't have is like a cruiser and a dirt bike.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I think so. But they got anywhere from naked bikes, sports bikes,
adventure bikes,
sport touring bikes. So all of that stuff at a fairly low price point relative to a lot of other manufacturers, especially the European manufacturers.
Yeah. So we just had to go try those out, and we have some thoughts on them. So
we do have some thoughts. And
really quick though, just to throw it out there, like while we're talking about it. So at the time of us recording this, or a few days earlier, one of our listeners, David, he let us know he actually got one of these CF Moto bikes, the 450 SS. So I'm curious to know what he has to say after riding it for a little bit, and everything from there. So thanks for letting us know, David, and thanks for sharing the pictures.
And if hopefully you're listening to this episode as well, we would love to hear a follow-up email from you once you've had it for like a couple of months, maybe like 3 months, put some miles on it.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. There's a mosquito right by my face. Sorry. Hopefully you didn't hear that on the mic. But yeah, let us know what you think of the bike because we're curious because we only got a short little ride on them and it was a group ride. So our experience is very limited.
And we only got to try two each.
Yeah, we only got to try two each. Would you like to start with yours?
Yeah, I can go into it. Should I be happy or should I go for, should I go for like the one I liked or the one that I wasn't the biggest fan of first?
Let's go with the bad news out of the way first and then work into the one that you
out of the way. It was actually the second bike I rode that day. I got to ride the 650 Adventura. It's a sport tour. I think we have a picture of it.
Oh yes,
on there.
Let me pull it up. Yep, there's this one, and here's just their
their
press photo as well.
So, not necessarily a bad looking bike by any means. One really nice, cool thing about that bike is that it comes with the panniers.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And not only that, but it's a 650 engine in there. Panniers included, slipper clutch, adjustable front suspension, upside down suspension forks on there, and dual disc brakes. So it's got some package to it, and as rider modes and everything like that on there. All for less than $7,000. That's
pretty good.
You're
especially
getting,
considering all the stuff it comes with.
Yeah, so it was So on paper and as a package, it looked like a good time. The seat was a little more comfortable than the other ones, so, but still not the best. What really killed me on this bike though was just I was able to max it out really quick, really quick. Like when we were able to get onto the highway, I mean, I had that throttle all the way open, and I barely got it going like 60 miles an hour. But I will throw in a disclaimer: these are demo bikes. We don't know what kind of abuse or what they've been through beforehand. The throttle was a little off. I did feel that like there was something wrong with the throttle, I think, for sure. But even then, like even maxing it out and pulling through, I was able to max out the tachometer too.
Was it a ride by wire, or did it have an actual cable, like a throttle cable?
I think it was a ride by wire. I have to double check.
Okay. So I guess it wouldn't have to be the cable issue.
Actually, no. It actually might be a cable one then.
Okay.
Because
maybe it was something loose or something.
Something wasn't with the bike. Like I basically had to pop a wheelie on it almost just to get it going in first gear because there was something wrong with the bike. Again, that's not speaking any ill will toward the brand or the build quality of this. I think that was just how it went that day for me.
Yeah.
So I did get kind of like a bad taste in my mouth over it from that alone, mostly just because of it was very slow, and just even I was full throttle, tachometer all the way maxed out, revving this thing to, just to get it to a safe speed on the highway, and did not enjoy it. So,
but do you think for the cost?
Oh yeah,
it's an okay bike.
No, I mean less than $7,000, and you're getting you are getting they call it an adventure bike. I wouldn't take it off roading or anything like that. It is more of a sport tour, street tour, but. I mean, less than $7,000. You're getting panniers, you're getting ride modes, dual disc brakes, adjustable suspension.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, so it is like a good. It does look good, and I would be willing to go and try it again.
Yeah.
Try a different one or different version of it to see if that was just like maybe it was just a busted bike.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah, I really just walked away with that one, being like that was not my favorite way to end a demo ride.
So notice on here you have it saying it had squishy buttons.
And I want to just preface that I noticed this on the other bike, the one I did too. The buttons didn't have any feel or feedback.
Oh yeah, I felt that on the ones I rode as well.
It seemed more prominent on this one, the 650, than the other one. The other one, they were still soft, but I was getting responses,
okay.
from them. So just little things I noticed like that. But you're not buying a Porsche here. So, but it is for $7,000, I think that's a great way for somebody to break into that type of riding.
Okay.
Again, I really can't stress this enough. It comes with panniers, guys.
I mean, and that's a really good.
Those are
that's
expensive.
a really good benefit because average set of panniers will set you back at least $500 minimum.
Minimum. I mean, if you're looking at hard casing, you're probably looking more like $1,000, $800.
Yeah, especially on a touring or adventure bike. And then
that was my water.
Do you want to talk about your next one, or should I talk about one of mine?
I can just go through mine here. The cool. One that I did, the first one I rode, and I actually think from out of the ones I got to ride, and hearing from what you have to say about the ones you rode, I personally think that this next one is their, it's what I would classify as their flagship.
Okay.
It was their 700 CLX Sport. So it's a 693 cc engine from there, and it's pretty peppy for a 700 bike.
Yeah.
Very height friendly. So I'm 6 foot. I got on it. I didn't feel cramped necessarily. It felt a little closer to the Street Triple, just by stance and size for it from there. Maybe a little narrower. But again, very height friendly for anybody. Dual disc Brembos, which
that's pretty nice.
Come on,
that is pretty nice.
You're kidding me here, right? That's pretty nice. Like I said, it was very responsive and it was very sporty. I did have a lot of fun on that bike.
Good.
I could just be in first gear, second gear, and I could just open that throttle and that bike would just go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun for that one. And again, and this one you're looking at with the sport one, you're looking around $7,200 brand new.
Still pretty nice and accessible price.
Yeah, that's really not bad. And then still, like, on top of your upside down adjustable suspension and your dual disc Brembo brakes, you're also getting rider modes. It has like an urban mode and like a sport mode.
Okay.
I think the urban mode's like more like rainish, or like they're just standard from there. Sport mode was pretty fun. So, but same kind of things, like the buttons, like they were more responsive than the other one. I was actually I could see that stuff was happening.
Yeah.
And they just have a little LED screen, or is it LED, right? Yeah.
I think it might have been TFT on those.
No, this one, it just had it had like the old digital one.
Like the little Casio watch?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But it's got a tachometer and a gear indicator and your mileage or gas range and everything from there.
Okay.
Again, cruise control, auto turn signals, which I didn't get that till I got my Triumph. So and it's nice. It is
a very nice feature to have, especially if and then you get used to it, and then you get on a different bike and you're like, oh shit, my blinker's been on for the past like 10 miles.
Damn it. Yeah. So ride modes, cruise control, auto turn signals. This one I did have a lot of fun on. If we're going to talk like build quality versus packaging versus pricing and everything, like, I mean, this would be a tough one to turn down, honestly. When you're looking in like that price range for bikes, especially brand new.
And that's a really good intro like price range if you want to. And it didn't look like a bad bike. In fact, we have another picture. But here's your picture, and then here's the picture from the manufacturer, and it does look pretty good. I really like the look of it.
Ooh, yeah.
And it had that round headlight too.
A really cool round LED headlight.
Yeah.
It's. I think that was a really fun bike, and even the stock exhaust, that sounded pretty good.
Yeah, and I felt like if I remember right, I remember feeling like it had kind of like a modern cafe racer look to it.
Yeah,
especially with that round headlight. I agree. I thought it looked pretty good. I didn't get a chance to ride it, but I remember talking to you while we were on the ride, and you seemed to. I was really enjoy it. And
that was a lot of fun. That would be a really fun, like little inexpensive.
How did the ride feel on it?
It was a little buzzy, I will say that, especially at the higher speeds. But I mean, come on, you're on a motorcycle. Yeah. From there, but no, it was fun. I was able to just like gun through it, and
very cool. Yeah, very cool.
Be a little hooligan for a minute, So it was a good time. I did really actually enjoy that one. So I would actually, for someone looking into like this price range, I'd say, hey, like, you got these brands and these kind of bikes, but consider this one because you are getting like quite a bit of tech. And nothing like, you're not getting like, top of the line, like crystal screen, whatever they call it. Like, but you are getting like some really cool stuff in there, like to make the bike, that makes the bike responsive and just gives you like some rider benefits.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's very good to hear. And now I guess it's my turn, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I will also start with, I don't know. I had a pretty decent experience on both my bikes, so I can't really say one was worse than the other.
Yeah.
But they were very different from one another because the first bike I rode was their Ibex 800T, which is their adventure style bike. So let me talk about that first. And I got a picture of it right here somewhere. As you can see, it looks like a very run-of-the-mill adventure bike. It's even got the gold wheels,
gold spoke wheels, and
little tribute to not an actual tribute, but it kind of reminds me of a GS or an Africa Twin.
I was gonna say it looks a lot like an Africa Twin, just from that side profile with those color on the wheels.
So. It reminded me a lot of that, but it looks better than it feels. And what I mean by that is this bike felt very plasticky in a lot of places. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's their most expensive bike. It starts at $10,500, so $10,500. But with that, you also get a lot of features.
Right.
So it has got 94 horsepower, 56 pound-feet of torque. So it's a fairly peppy engine, at least on paper. And I found out while I was doing research for this episode that the engine was actually used in the previous generation KTM 790. So it's got some pedigree there.
Yeah.
And I've never ridden a KTM, so I don't exactly know how that engine performs on the KTM, and if they did any kind of tuning or different like
gearing,
setup,
yeah.
gearing and stuff for this specific bike. But one of the biggest things that stood out to me on the ride was that it feels like its power band falls off very quick once it like reaches its peak torque and peak horsepower. Like it gets up to speed just fine. It's a very linear acceleration, just kind of almost feels like it's a straight line.
Yeah.
But once it gets up to those high revs and you want to give it more, it just feels like it's kind of like it just feels like it's almost like it doesn't want to give more, even though it feels like it probably can.
Yeah.
Do you think it just doesn't want to rev up like any higher? At least that's how it felt to me.
Yeah. Do you think that could also been the same boat with like the other bike I tried, and maybe there's something? It was a demo bike, maybe it was just a little overused or something.
I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so because I didn't max out the throttle or anything. It had enough power to get up to highway speeds.
Yeah.
And it had more to give, but it just feels like it doesn't drop off in the sense that it doesn't feel like it's a mechanical issue or failure. Okay. I just feel like it's not tuned to like keep going. It's just tuned to like very much drop at those higher RPMs. It feels like it wants to give more. Yeah. But it just like it just doesn't. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's like maybe there's some kind of governor on it or something like that. But to me, that's kind of how it felt like, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just it was kind of unexpected because I kept expecting it to wanting to accelerate more and more. Yeah. And the best way I can describe it is kind of, when you get that throttle fully open, it kind of pulls you back, pulls the bike back, and you're like trying to hold on. Yeah. And then you reach your peak or you shift gears and it kind of goes back. Yeah. Well, it goes, and you keep expecting it to like keep pulling, but then it just kind of stops. It just kind of stops pulling. So interesting. It just feels like the power just drops off. I don't think it actually does, but it just feels that way. And it did feel a little bit buzzy, especially at higher speeds, but nothing too distracting. Nothing crazy. Unless you look at the mirrors. Those things were blurry and I could not see anything.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah. Oh, I totally forgot about this. On like the Aventura, one of the mirrors actually came loose, so I didn't have a left rear view mirror. Like it was just hanging down. Really? Huh. I was like, oh crap. Okay. But that was at speed, so it was a wind resistance that had knocked it loose. And again, like demo bike, we know. Like, maybe someone was fiddling with it. I don't think that's indicative of like the bike itself. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but I do remember like on the other one, the mirrors were a little buzzy, so it would be something that you'd probably want to look into to like get some better mirrors. Yeah, some aftermarket ones maybe. Yeah. And then, but what I really liked about this bike is for that $10,500, you're getting pretty much all the tech features that you'd see on like a $20,000 like European adventure bike or even a Japanese adventure bike. Like this thing had stuff on it that my Triumph doesn't have on it, or that if you did have it, you'd be paying thousands of dollars for.
Yeah. For essentially $6,000 less. Yeah. And I'm gonna just quickly go through the list of all the features. So one, it had the spoked wheels on this one, which is nice. I can't remember if they were tubeless or not, but I'm pretty sure they probably are for this kind of bike.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. But it had lots of tech features. It had riding modes. It had rain and sport. I don't remember if it had off-road, which I was kind of surprised about because it's that kind of bike. It is like an adventure bike, but I don't remember it having an off-road mode. But it did have riding modes, sport, rain, street. It had Bluetooth connectivity built in. You can connect it to their CF Moto app that you can get on your phone. It had a nice TFT. It had cruise control. It had traction control, corner ABS. Yeah, all of those features that you're kind of used to seeing on a much higher end bike.
This thing's less than $12,000.
But this thing's less than $12,000. It also had a very nice TFT layout. I actually really like the TFT, and it's huge. It was a 7-inch TFT, which is like the same as my Triumph. And I actually felt like it made better use of the space that I had on the TFT than the Triumph did. Yeah. Because you've heard me complain about it before, that I feel like there's a lot of empty space, and I feel like they could have maybe done a little bit more. They could work more onto it. Yeah. Triumph could have done a little bit more with their TFTs on that. It had heated grips. It had a heated seat.
That's right. Oh my! I forgot about that part. Yeah.
Like It had cruise control. Like, it has all of these features that you would see in like a $20,000 bike
Yeah.
on something that costs $10,000, which is incredible. And I think it had fully adjustable suspension, front and back. And I think this is, sorry, I'm going to keep going over the features here. It had luggage racks already pre-installed. It didn't come with the panniers, but it had the space for them already there. So it just came with like so many of these different features that actually makes it a really, really good like package for the price. Because all of these features, I mean, they're very convenient to have on an adventure bike.
Right. Yeah.
They're super convenient. And which I commend them for that. That is a really nice. There's a really nice set of features to put on a bike like that.
Yeah, and I think it looks cool too. Like I really like that front end with it. It has like the twin lights and like where it comes like with the crash bars. It looks very like
Oh, and that's the other thing I forgot to mention. It does come with a crash bar, some engine guards, some tank guards, skid plate.
Right? Yeah.
Even comes with a quick shifter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, comes with a quick shifter. My bike doesn't even have a quick shifter. Your bike doesn't have a quick shifter, and it's more expensive than these ones, than this one. It had a USB port right up front, which I feel like most manufacturers should do at this point.
Yeah.
Like right up front, so you can plug in your phone or whatever else you need.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So overall, just very nice package, but not all good things. But there is some compromises.
Yeah. So you said it was the power was the issue, right?
Yeah. So the power band just felt like I said, one that felt very linear. There wasn't really much. Like, I wouldn't say it was like the funnest bike to ride.
Okay.
Maybe I'm probably spoiled, riding my Tiger and stuff, and
that T-plane crank is
which is
nice
which is phenomenal. Yeah. But it just felt like pretty linear and stuff. Which I think if you're a newer rider or just someone that wants like a bike that just is very predictable and just does what it's supposed to, I think that's that can be a very good thing.
Yeah,
because you know where it's gonna end up.
Yeah. And I feel like I've had a friend who says like, oh, I'd love to get into motorcycles, but A, cost, and B, like I'd want a bike that could do everything that you guys have, and
yeah.
Well, here you go, man. Less than 11 grand even.
Yep.
Like
there is that option.
It's like, I wouldn't say a compromise is the right word, because you're getting a lot.
Getting a lot
of bike, with a well-known engine. You know. And so like I would say I really don't want to say compromise, but I would say you're not getting like, I can't think of the word for it. You're getting a good package.
You're getting a really good package. I don't know if it's the most fun package, but it's a very good package.
And consider our height and weight too.
Yep.
I mean, like maybe there's somebody a little shorter or doesn't weigh as much as we do.
I don't know if I would say for shorter people.
Oh, it's pretty tall.
It's a pretty tall bike.
Maybe someone who weighs less than us.
Yeah. And it's not super light either. It's 509 pounds.
Okay.
Which is a little bit heavier than my Tiger.
Yeah.
It has more power than my Tiger, but like I said, that power didn't feel like it just feels like it has more, but it doesn't want to give more. So I don't know if
to try them again, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just tuned weird or if something, or what's affecting it. But like I said, it just feels like, if you have a graph, here's like your power band, and it's just going up, 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 and then it just kind of like it just kind of stops. It's like, no, I'm good. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Instead of like, let's really push this thing. Let's redline it all the way and feel it like want to take off from you. It didn't have that quite a feeling. And then my other big thing on it is I felt the brakes were very inconsistent and squishy. It did not have Brembos.
Oh,
it had Juan something.
Some not Brembos.
Not Brembos. Which, I mean, Brembos are great, but also like other brands of brakes. I mean, there's plenty of different options and stuff. But it just felt like very squishy and very inconsistent, especially the rear brake. I don't even know if it was putting in like any effort. Maybe like 10% of the effort. Definitely the front brake is where it's at. But even the front brake just felt like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it had a lot of bite to it. You really had to like push it or clamp it down to get it to stop, especially at higher speeds.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like it was a very linear progression on the brake. It felt like you're squishing, you can feel it slowing down, and you expect it to keep slowing down more, but then it was just kind of like Nope, it's not there yet. It's not there. Okay, now it's stopping faster. So I don't know. Maybe like you said, maybe it was part of being a demo bike. Maybe it just got little.
And I don't want to like let that be like an all out excuse for everything that we've noticed, you know. But I mean, like at the same time, these bikes are going like all over the country.
Yeah. So there was probably that. So
I noticed on one of the Ibex too, someone had dropped it.
Really?
The crash bars were all scratched up.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
So,
but yeah, so that's kind of like what I felt about the braking on it. It just felt a little bit inconsistent. Biggest thing is like the seat on it was not comfortable at all. Oh. It feels good to the touch if you like poke it with your finger, but if you were to actually sit on it, I don't feel like it's really spreads the weight that well. I was feeling like I was getting a sore ass on it just riding around the neighborhood. I'm just like, okay, they need a little bit more cushioning or make it feel like less foamy.
I did. I don't think I mentioned that. Yeah, because it was the same thing for the 700 CLX. I don't know if I remember the seat on the 650. It doesn't. Nothing like stands out in my memory from that. There was so much going on with that bike.
Yeah. So the seat was very uncomfortable. I did not like it. If you got this bike, I don't know, maybe you're lighter or maybe your ass shape is different, so maybe you'll be okay. But it was not for me. And then this is my gripe from pretty much in anything that's techie on motorcycles, cars, or anything, is that you had to dig through menus to turn on a lot of the features.
Let me see.
I think cruise control had its own button, which is great. But if you want to turn on heated grips, you got to like go to the menu. You got to like hold the button down to go into the menu. You have to scroll down, turn it on, click it on.
That's so weird.
It had about like 2 or 3 button clicks before you can actually turn on some of those features, which I hate. I absolutely hate. I think if you're going to have a feature like that, you need to have a button right up front to turn it on. Like our Triumph's heated grips, it got a button right there.
Yeah.
Mine's got a heated seat button, even though I don't have a heated seat, but it's got one there because the Pro has it.
It's just best to keep things simple.
It really is. And not only because it like lowers the number of clicks you have to do, but if you're riding along at higher speeds, you know, you want to be paying attention to the road. You don't want to be digging through menus trying to figure out how to turn on your heated grips or a heated seat because you want to be paying attention to the road.
Yeah.
And digging through menus on the motorcycle just does not sound very appealing to me.
No, and and you know, when you mentioned that was the weirdest thing to me too, because I was thinking at the same time, like it's like okay, maybe for whatever reason you want your controls to be on the screen. It shouldn't have to, especially when you're writing, you shouldn't have to be digging through menus.
Exactly.
And like at the very least, if you wanted it to be a part of your screen, just have an icon on the main screen, just where you can just move one of the arrows over, so it highlights it and you hit OK.
Exactly. And when you go into the menu, it wasn't even the first like option that popped up. It's like, oh, here's the features you can turn off and on real quick. You had to actually like go into the menu. It pops you into the writing modes first, and you have to like go back, scroll down, and then click over, and then click OK, and that's way too many steps to turn on.
So it's like your only safe option is to get off the road and stop.
I mean, not necessarily, but yeah, it does lower, like, it does distract you from paying attention to the road, even for a minute.
I mean, like, I wouldn't want anybody, like, having to fiddle, like, with their...
No, especially if you're unfamiliar with it. Like, it's just not a good thing. I don't think it's good at all to have features like that. And the other thing was, and these are kind of like all convenience features, it did have an adjustable windscreen, but it was a pain in the ass to adjust because I'm going to try to describe this to our listeners the best I can, but if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see me fiddle with my hands. So in order to do it, there's 2 big knobs on each side of the windscreen. You have to loosen them up manually, both of them, and then you can move it up and down, and then... tighten them back up so it doesn't move.
Remember the guy showing us that?
It took a while, and even he was struggling a little bit, which I find really annoying because, one, you can't adjust it on the go. You have to stop, adjust it, and then get going, and then you're like, oh crap, I got it too low, I got it too high, I got to stop again, adjust it, or I like loosen one side, but then you're taking your hands off the bar.
Once again, you're distracted from the ride.
Yep, exactly. And it was just, and they were very tight. They were not very good knobs.
Yeah.
And it just did not feel like, I'm just like, okay, come on, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Triumph on their Tigers does it great. Yep. You just literally push it in, move it up and down, like let go, and it clamps back into place. Or you can go balls out like BMW and just have a
electric
button
one
and just have it move up and down. I don't remember how the 1200 Tiger 1200 had it.
I don't remember. I think it was still a
I think it was,
one.
yeah. But that's a much easier feature, and I feel like Triumph's, or at least on my Tiger, it's even less complicated because it's just held on by 2 screws with springs on them that you just clamp it down. I feel like all just should have that. If you're not gonna have an electronic one, you might as well just have one that you can adjust with one hand.
Yeah,
because otherwise it just seems like it's so much effort.
Yeah, I did see that when the guys explained. I was keeping my mouth shut. I was kind of like, that's fucking stupid.
Yes, exactly. But overall, pretty good bike.
Yeah,
I would say it's a pretty good bike, mainly because of all the features that you get for that price.
No, yeah, for sure.
And then the other bike I rode is their 450 SS, which I got a picture of right here.
Yep, that's the one that David got.
Okay, awesome. David, this is your bike, and I'm going to say some things about it. So hopefully that doesn't make you upset. It was a fine bike. It was a sports bike, and I'm not a sports bike rider, but I was very curious to try it out because I didn't really have that many opportunities to try really aggressive, fully fared sports bikes in my riding career, since I started riding. I've sat on a few, but never really ridden one. So I was like, hey, you know what? I kind of want to give this a try. And so I can't really compare it to anything else other than maybe I don't even know. I don't think I even rode a naked bike that really compares to that. You rode a street triple once.
The
older one.
But even that one, I didn't sit on this 450 SS, but I was very it did look pretty aggressive. It was pretty aggressive.
It was a very tucked in, legs bent.
It was a sport bike.
Sport bike, which I was like, "Ooh, this is not the most comfortable position for me." I'm 6'1", so it did feel a little bit cramped. Sitting on it, but overall, I thought
a sport bike felt cramped coming from an adventure bike.
I know, crazy, right? But it was. I did enjoy riding that bike. I did max out the throttle on it as well. It does have a 450cc engine, 50 horsepower, 29 pound-feet of torque, so fairly low.
It's a small displacement bike.
Yeah, it's a small displacement bike, but it still had a pretty good bit of pep to it, and it picked up speed pretty well, but it also had kind of like that very linear acceleration that the iBikes has. And I wonder if it's just going to be the case across all these bikes, maybe. But it did have Brembo brakes. It did have a TFT with riding modes. It had sport and then street. I think those are the two. And I have it here once again. It did not have a mode button, and that was the case for the iBikes as well. Okay. You had to dig through menus to turn on the mode.
See, that's interesting because the 700, it had a switch for the mode, on the handlebar. So it was very streamlined for that one. So,
and see, I wonder if they did that because you said that one didn't have a TFT, so maybe it couldn't really have an extended menu selection. Like a TFT could. So they maybe figured they can just turn it on before they ride. But sometimes it's nice to be able to switch those things on the fly because road conditions might change. Maybe you just kind of want to relax a little bit and not have the bike jerk as much or have as much as aggressive acceleration and things like that. And digging through menus is just a pain in the ass to do always. But between the two bikes, I will say what I really like between both of them is their TFT. Except for the digging through menus, the layout on it was really good. There was some very cool things where you can see a lot of information.
They looked pretty clean.
Yeah, they looked very clean. You could see your oil or service life, time to next oil change. I think one of them had even a lap or track timer, that was on the 450 and stuff. So it was a pretty extensive feature set on the TFT. Yeah, it's just annoying that you had to dig to access some of the things you should have access to on the fly.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I wanted to try the 450 SS, but we didn't have time. Yeah. You snagged it before I could get on it. But for a small displacement bike, a little 450, I think that would be a really fun around town bike, Probably a really good first bike for, if someone who wants to get a sport bike. And,
yeah, I agree.
I don't know what they're like compared to a like a Ninja or the R3s or something. So I think I don't know anything about sport bike displacement and stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't know how that would compare to like the R3 or a Ninja 400 or.
Yeah, and I think that's a kind of a good segue to talk about like the competition and things like that. Like, yes, these bikes are cheap. Yes, these bikes have a lot of features for their price, but also there's other options there. And a lot of them you'll see probably come from those Japanese manufacturers. You got Honda, you got Kawasaki, you got Suzuki,
Well, they
Yamaha.
just have like that name behind them.
Yeah, they do have that name. They do have that pedigree behind them for known like reliability, parts accessibility, dealer accessibility, which I think is very nice to have if you're a new rider. And you need to get service done, you need to get a part, you need to do something to your bike to be able to like pop in. I mean, there's like 5 Honda dealers around here you can pop into, which I think is very nice to have. Plus, you kind of get that brand reputation. Like a Honda, we know they're reliable. We know that they will. You'll forget to change oil on them, they'll run no problem. Honda just makes reliable stuff. Kawasaki, Suzuki, they all make really reliable things. So does Yamaha. Japanese manufacturers are really good at what they do.
Yeah, they figured that out.
I mean, like my first bike was the CB500X, and that thing costs as much as that 650 Adventura, just pretty much.
Yeah.
That had more features than my CB. The CB was a very basic bike.
Yeah. And I
like
think
super
like
basic bike.
Overall, they like in terms of like their features or anything, that'd be pretty comparable for like what they could do. The CF Moto, I think, would have been a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
A little bit more fairing to it as well. But yeah, like I said before, I would honestly be okay to like try that one again to see if it was like just
that specific bike. That makes sense.
And because I was just gonna say too, like I'm actually really glad that like there's something new in the U.S. market.
Oh yeah,
I don't like it. Almost feels like for affordable or more approachable bikes, like things have been kind of stagnated.
Yeah,
like we got like the Triumph like Trident in kind of late. Or
we totally forgot Triumph just announced new bikes.
Oh, that's right.
Since we're talking about bikes already, we skipped our news segment, but let's backtrack to that towards the end of the episode.
So we're just keeping you guys on your toes.
Yep.
Make sure you're paying attention.
We'll talk more about it next time, though.
But no, I do think it's good that CF Moto has come to the U.S. because they're not a new brand. They've been around. They're just new to the U.S.
Yep, exactly.
So I'm curious to see like how they're going to do here. I think those features like okay, you're not getting like the name or like the
recognition.
I think it doesn't matter what you have. If you have Honda anything, your lawnmower, your leaf blower, whatever it is, it's like that thing's just gonna run with or without oil.
Yeah,
it's not good for it, but I think so.
And honestly, that's just the case. Even like we have European bikes, British bikes, and even they don't come close to being as reliable as any of the Hondas, probably.
Yeah. So
and that's just a fact. We just accept it because I mean they're still good. Triumphs are still very reliable bikes. A lot of bikes are pretty reliable.
Yeah.
But those Japanese bikes, they're just a little extra. Yeah. Especially the Hondas.
Yeah. And so like, but no, I think like if you're weighing benefits and if people like if riders do like want some of those creature comforts, you can get them without breaking the bank.
Oh yeah, which I think is fantastic, and that's kind of what I wrote here in my little like overall impressions. Is that basically that I think that I'm glad to see these cheaper options on the market because I'm hoping that having these kinds of options, having cheaper motorcycles available, gets more people interested in riding and allows them to buy a bike. Even if it's their first bike, and you don't want your first bike to be crazy expensive. It's okay to get a cheaper one because chances are you might drop it, you might do something to it, you're learning, and then once you figure out like, oh, hey, I kind of need something more, then you realize like, I want a new bike.
Yeah.
But I think it's great that there is something could potentially bring more riders onto the road, which is always a good thing. Everyone should ride a motorcycle. They're fantastic. And they have a lot of features for the price. But like I said, this price does have some compromises. And I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me is I'm a very pokey and touchy person when it comes to like cars, bikes, and anything like that.
Yeah.
You can kind of feel like a little bit of a cheaper quality, very plasticky bits a lot of places. I remember poking like the headlight, and it feels like it was a little bit lower grade, like maybe a little squishier, little squishier plastic and stuff. And I just think those are some of the cost-cutting measures. The Ibex was very plastic. I don't even remember. Like I think the tank might be metal deep inside somewhere, but it was not metal on the outside. And I just had like a lot of the fairings and things like that. And then I was just very, it just felt kind of cheap-ish.
Yeah.
With the fit and finish. And same goes with the 450 SS. It had this like kind of fake plastic carbon fiber cover, and I remember like dragging my like hand or just nail across on an accident, and actually left like a little bit of a scratch.
Oh yeah,
on it. And I was just like, oh, that's not good. I feel like I could like if I put enough pressure with my nail on it, would actually like leave an indent in the thing. And I was like,
yeah,
I don't know. This something could be worked on a little bit here.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree, and that's why I says I'm hoping that they can like do well over here, and maybe they'll learn some lessons like what U.S. consumers for bikes are like more used to. I don't know. I don't know like if what would be different here versus there.
And
but
like I said,
that was just a thought I had. Is like honestly, like I'm just glad you guys are mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
and if the lower price helps bring more riders on the road, that's very good.
Yeah.
That's and that fit and finish. The reason I bring it up is because with similarly priced like Japanese bikes, like even my Honda, my first bike that I had, it felt like it had like it was tightened down a little bit more. Like the fairings felt like a little bit tighter. The headlight felt like it was more solidly like put in there. Just like little touches like that.
Yeah.
Just felt better. But it didn't have as many features as these ones. So there's that.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything else really to say because I'm pretty much agreeing with you on that one, so they're
good. Better agree with me. I'm just kidding.
So, but no, I David, I'm curious to hear what you think of your bike. Congratulations, by the way. Yep. So it's always fun to get a motorcycle, especially a new one. So I hope you're safe and that you're having fun.
Yeah, and please do let us know what you think of it.
Yeah, and you also heard what we've had to say about them, so I would say anybody should just go out and try them. Give this brand a try.
And look, if you had a better experience on them, or if you have a CF Moto and you love it, feel free to call us out. We don't know. We just barely tried them out, and if you tell us that, hey, I've had this bike for X amount of time, and I really love it.
Yeah,
let us know. Let us know what you love about it. Let us know like how you made it fit better to your, to kind of your riding style, your standard, because each one of us has different preferences, different kinds of things we look for in a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And right before we finish, let's talk about the new Triumphs real quick.
Yeah. Segue.
Yeah, segue. So if you've been listening to this since day one, which thank you, by the way, feel free to leave us some feedback and some reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to. That would be awesome.
That's really cool.
But you know that we ride Triumphs.
What?
No way.
Yeah, no.
What do you got? What you got there? You got a Triumph hat.
Yeah.
So we ride Triumphs. We love our Triumphs. And Triumph just announced a pair of new entry-level motorcycles. So you got the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400.
Mosquito is really going at us.
I know. Yeah. He's just vibing. And the Scrambler 400X. Do you want to talk about the Scrambler real quick?
So 400X. We don't really have prices or anything yet, but we're looking at like a 398 cc engine, and I think let's see the max. Let's see what we got here. So max power, we're looking at 39.5 horsepower at 8,000 RPM, and then about 27.7 foot-pounds of torque. Liquid cooled, all that fun stuff. And it is a 6-speed, which we were talking about that on like the street street twin. You know, it had the 5 gears. So these are coming with 6 gears. The Scrambler is going to be a little bit taller than the Speed 400.
Yep.
It still has cast wheels, so it is going to be more just like that Scrambler aesthetic.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, it does sit a little bit higher, so I feel like it could have potential.
Yeah, it's got some clearance.
Off-road light.
Yeah.
Like hit some fire roads maybe, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, nothing wild. And I mean, you got
jumps on it.
Yeah, and you know, you got your the exhaust is still like pointed back up like an adventure bike should. You know, from there.
And it is a single-cylinder engine, which is kind of a first. Or I don't know if it's the first for Triumph, but among their modern bikes, it's the only one.
It's something different.
Yeah, it's something different.
You know, and it's what's really cool about it, it's a single cylinder, but they've like kind of dressed it up to look like a classic Bonneville engine. It
does look like a classic Bonneville engine, and we don't really have a picture, but
it's not. They're not Bonnevilles. They're just dressed to look like it.
They're its own line, and they're partnering with a
who is it?
Indian company called, I think it's like Bahia or something that. Bagia. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to double check on that. But they are an Indian manufacturer. They kind of work with other manufacturers to build bikes and also like engines. And this is kind of like basically it's Triumph's entry into this very Bahia. That's what it is. So Baja, Bagag or Bajaj. So however you say that. And it says on Cycle World here that they also make some engines for KTM and a few other manufacturers. So it's an Indian manufacturer, and that's where they're having build these bikes, which is
are
totally
coming
fine.
to the US, right? Do we know?
I don't think they've officially announced it, but Triumph America did share them and stuff, which I feel like is kind of a safe bet.
Okay.
But they will probably come to the US. And these are meant to compete with like the KTM 390, the BMW 310, those very lower and entry level bikes. And I feel like some of those might even compete with like the Royal Enfields. They don't have quite that like similar classic look that the Enfields have. But I can definitely see them like kind of pulling from their market a little bit.
Yeah, like you can see it looks like a Bonneville engine with the Scrambler. Like if you've been listening, you know I like my Scramblers.
Yeah.
So they're, and I just think that with that lighter displacement and just like all around smaller bike, it might be a little bit more fun off road. If you were to like swap out for some spoked wheels on there.
Yeah. And it's light.
And they're really light. Like what was their wet weight? I think I saw it on here.
I think that one's like close to like 400-ish.
Something like it really wasn't. It was not a lot.
Yeah.
I found it right here. Wet weight. Yeah. 395 pounds.
Excellent.
So.
And I believe that they, what I think is great is they actually have like traction control.
Yeah.
And ABS, and a lot of those things stock, which is really nice for that price point. And especially like the traction control helps improve safety. And also there's a really cool picture for those that are watching. Here it is on my iPad. Yeah, there we go. It's actually their dashboard, which I think, jeez, oh my God.
Oh, come on,
so sorry.
We almost made it an entire episode without bonking a mic.
Like, look at this. Yeah, that's a cool little setup. It's like a mix of analog and digital put together. It's look at that Casio watch screen on it. But I like that setup. That's
LCD,
a nice
that's
looking,
what it is.
LCD, yeah. But that's a good looking layout.
No, I like it.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, like modern retro mix between the two. So you talked about the.
I would say really quick too. I still like that. That's not a bad dash, but I would still think these bikes would just be immensely improved with like those iconic twin analogs with a little LCD in the middle, like they do on the Bonnevilles.
Oh yeah, that would look good. That's probably the best setup that Triumph has on those classic bikes.
They just look good.
Yeah.
No,
I'm really looking forward to trying these out when they get them here in the States.
I want to find out more about them. Yeah, I want to kind of
because I think they just look very good for like the price, and hopefully, if going off the competition, the KTM 390, the BMW 310, they cost less than $6,000, brand new.
Okay.
So if these match that,
so once we get some pricing info,
yeah. So forget what we said about CF Moto. Buy these because they're trying.
No, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. But yeah, these are. I mean, they look like great little bikes. They got Showa style suspension. I don't know if it's show necessarily.
Actually, too, there was also the service interval is still 10,000 miles,
which is fantastic, and I don't know why mine is only 6,000 miles. It pisses me off. Like I have an adventure bike. These should have the highest but service intervals.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, between the Scrambler X and like the Speed 400, I mean, these just like look like. I hope they're going to be
Triumphs.
Yeah, they look like Triumphs. You know, like you can get into like a classic looking bike for what we hope will be a low
price.
Yeah.
The Speed 400 also has preload adjustable suspension.
Oh, that's nice.
In the back. The front doesn't say if it's adjustable or not. I think at that price point it might not be.
Yeah.
Maybe the Scrambler might, just because it's off-road. The Scrambler also has switchable ABS, which I think is very cool for off-road riding.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just have to keep you guys in the loop as we find out.
Yeah, as we got more information on this, and
I guess we'll find out more in the fall. They're coming out in January of next year?
Q1 of 2024. So
okay, yeah,
anywhere from January to like March.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to ride them.
Yeah, I have preload adjustment on the rear too.
Oh,
on the
and I think
Scrambler.
their engines are basically the exact same.
Yeah,
it's just the styling. The Scrambler basically has a bit different suspension. It sits higher. It's got a skid plate on it.
Higher exhaust.
Higher exhaust. You can toggle the ABS on and off. While the Speed 400 is more of your run-of-the-mill street bike.
Yeah. So
I'm looking forward to really seeing how, trying these out and seeing how.
Who knows, man? Maybe that Scrambler 400 will be an actual usable dual sport.
Hey,
but looking the part.
Yeah, if it's cheap enough, why not?
I can have two Scramblers
that look very much the same.
It's like, oh, my Scrambler had a baby. So.
And I think that's pretty much all we had to say today.
I think so, yeah.
I will wrap up by saying this. We went on the ride a couple weeks ago, and I hit a sheep.
Oh, you should put that on the Instagram.
I should put that on the Instagram. I did not go down. I did not even get any sheep bits on me. The bike stayed up. I'm fine. The bike's fine. I don't know if the sheep is fine because it basically ran into my boot.
Yeah.
And I kicked the shit out of its head going at 45, 50 miles an hour. And
oh, man.
It might have brain damage at this point.
I think for our next episode, I'll tell them my experience, my view of it, because that was hilarious.
So this is the takeaway from this episode. Buy motorcycles. Try motorcycles before you buy them because you never know how they feel. And second, pay attention to the goddamn road because a sheep might decide to run across it while you're looking at another sheep for just 1 second.
To be fair, the other sheep was a cute baby sheep.
I know, it was a baby sheep with a mama. How could you not look at that? It's the other one that had to be an asshole and run across the road and get kicked. I don't know. I don't think
we'll open the next episode. I'll tell them my perspective because that was.
We'll just do a straight up cold open, not even an intro. Just remember that one time you hit a sheep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways, thanks you guys so much for listening. Like I said, feel free to send us emails, leave comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Give us some feedback. If you hate us, let us know. If we're getting haters, I think that's success. That's success right there in my book.
I know you said you couldn't find. We had a new comment on the YouTube. I found the email for it, but it looks like it didn't go up. But no, Ryan, we do like your feedback, and the discussion for it. Basically, I'm just gonna read it because it was out there. I don't know why it's not showing up.
I wonder if he deleted it.
Yeah, but but that's okay either way. But he says I'm not sold on electric bikes, although within the next. Within the next 5 years, I'll probably get one strictly for city commuting, but I think you guys are a little bit off for what the current tech can do. Zero's top-end bikes boast a 187-mile range, which would easily get you that 100 miles you were talking about, even with hills. So yeah, I think... I think that's fair feedback. I think we incorrectly quoted 150 or something like that.
Oh, maybe.
But again, I think more for us on our point to that would be you just don't know with the weather what's going to affect the battery. But no, he's got some good points, especially for city commuting.
Yeah,
there's
a very fair point.
But anyway, thanks for your
comment. And sometimes awesome. We try to fact check ourselves and make sure we have all the right stuff, but sometimes we do
Yeah.
make a little mistake here and there.
No, correct us if we're wrong.
Correct,
We'll look
definitely correct us. Call us out on our bullshit if you feel like you need to. That's totally fine. Yeah, but I do agree there with Ryan that electric bikes, amazing for city rides. Rides here and there.
And by no means are they shortcoming for anything.
No,
it's just like we're just getting more into like, we like the combustion and the revs and all that and stuff. But no, it was I really like getting the feedback, whether they agree, disagree.
Absolutely.
I don't. You can hurt my feelings. So,
hurt my feelings too. I live for it.
That's that way we know the way we're feeling something, so we know we're alive. So. So just kidding.
Anyways, all right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Shoot us an email, follow us on social media, and ride safe.
Yeah.